everyone, it's Andy with the Reverb Tone Report, and today we're checking out the Microdose phaser from All Pedal and Spaceman Effects. It's a really cool collaboration here, and as you just heard, it goes all over the place. It has so many different rhythmic combinations with all kinds of waveforms to choose from. So let's get into those specs and most importantly, the sounds. Thanks to a digitally driven LFO and an optical circuit, the Microdose has an impressive amount of wave-shape control while keeping the signal path completely analog. The impressive range of tones starts with a stage selector, going from subtle 2 stages to classic 4 and 8 for thicker, pronounced phase sweeps. Key controls like depth and resonance set the range of motion, brightness, and the vocal qualities. The Microdose includes a wet-dry blend for an extra layer of intensity mixing, and an output level gives you plenty of boost, so this effect is never lost in the mix. The 8-step rotary knob gives you 8 standard and 8 alternate wave shapes, and even randomized and stepped filter sounds. If that wasn't enough, there's a corresponding warp control to skew the waveforms in any direction and really nail down the right feel. Plus, you can use the onboard tap tempo with an impressive amount of subdivisions, or use an expression pedal for freestyle control. Just like we've seen with their Macrodose, the Microdose is chock full of options and hand-built in the USA with a lifetime warranty. Check out what All Pedal has to offer right here on Reverb. Alright, so there's a lot to cover here, so let's just start with a nice starting point. So I'm not going to use any feedback, I'm going to keep the sine wave symmetrical, and I'm going to just show you the differences between 2, 4, and 8 stages. So for lack of a better term, that 8 stage sounds a bit more bubbly, especially when you have the depth increased. Now we could take it a step further and increase the feedback, which is also going to enhance those overtones and make it sound a lot more vocal. And you could do this in either of the stages. So let's just start with 4 since it's a nice middle ground. And if things get a bit too intense, you could, of course, back off on the depth, and that really changes the tone of the phaser, but you could also back off on the mix, so that phase tone is actually going to be hiding more behind the dry signal. So let's start with backing off the depth in the 8-stage phaser sound. So backing off on the depth is a very helpful feature, especially if you have, say, a faster setting or a lot of feedback like we just used. Let's go to a fast setting, something like in a 2-stage phaser, so it's kind of more in a rotary speaker sound, but we want to have that back in the mix, so we're going to use that blend control. And let's see what happens when we increase the blend all the way, getting into a classic vibrato sound like an old Univibe. Okay, so that's a little bit on how to dial in the different voicings and phase flavors. Now let's get into the waveforms, and we'll use that warp control to change the feel of a waveform. And that might be all a little bit too subtle for you. So let's go off to the alternate waveforms here on the outer ring and try some more square-shaped waveforms. So you probably noticed things got really juicy and a lot more of that bubbly quality when I increased the depth and the feedback or the resonance. Let's try some other waveforms, something that's a little bit less predictable. So the tap tempo has been really helpful for me in this demo, but I want to plug in an expression pedal and get a bit more freestyle here. So let's start with a slow, choppy square wave here to get something very rhythmic, and then I'll just blast to a fast speed, which is actually sounding more like a ring mod. Well, that is the all-pedal Microdose, just a very powerful phaser, and remember, it's an all-analog signal path with tons of digital control. I really dug all those waveforms. And you can find it right here on Reverb. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.